Welcome in to some NBA discussion. Today, we're going to be talking about the surprising firing of Taylor Jenkins by the Memphis Grizzlies. This is, as shocking as it can get. On March 28th, the Grizzlies just went ahead and fired Taylor Jenkins after nearly 6 seasons with the team. They've replaced him with assistant coach Tuomas Iisalo, and he's the interim head coach here with a couple games left. They're playing tonight against the Celtics here in about an hour and a half. And he's a great 2024. He was Euro coach or Euro Cup Coach of the Year up in Paris basketball. I've heard really great things about him on the offensive end. Um, Essentially, the crux of the firing for Jenkins was that they wanted Iisalo to have the offensive plan, and the way it was figuring out for that team specifically was they had two different offensive plans, two different um, mindsets on how they wanted to run that offense with Ja Morant. And it was reported that there was no, intermission or interference by the Grizzlies players. They all seemed pretty shocked. It did seem like Ja did have some complaints about the Grizzlies coach. He didn't outright say them, but it seemed like he was not happy with the offense, and especially with the amount of touches overall and his numbers kind of being down. He's having a down year overall with, statistically, he's not getting the calls that he generally has gotten in the past, and his play overall has just seen a little bit of a decline. And it seems like Iisalo plays a more jaw-centric, pick and roll style offense that's a little bit more free flowing, where they want to have more spacing. And of course, Ja is going to be, wanting to play that style. And so Jenkins is no longer there. They currently hold a 44-30 record, placing them fifth in the Western Conference. They faced some struggles here. They've lost 4 of their last 5. They just recently, on March 29th, lost to the Lakers 127-134. They're just having some struggles. Offensively, they're still pretty high ranked considering the amount of injuries. I feel like the offense that Jenkins was playing was a little bit more team-centric. The touches were evenly distributed, and that, I feel like, directly correlated to where they were in the standings before all the Ja injuries. They were doing fine without him up until like All-Star break, and then after All-Star break, they lost more games without him. And now that he's back, Lakers kind of get hit with another player returning against them. I think that's just hilarious that they kind of always have that happen to them. The GM emphasized that there was an urgency for the season. That's why with only like 10 or 9 games that he wanted to go ahead and, take some responsibility for the decision and go ahead and fire Jenkins. We'll see if this was the right decision, but I do agree with the decision kind of in a vacuum, in the sense that if they were going to fire him after first or second round exit, then they might as well fire him now to see if it'll fire up some of the guys and see if it'll also fire up Ja Morant with a different offensive scheme. Instead of having 2 different heads butting, and now it's just one one way that they want to run the offense. It seems like it's a little bit more pick and roll heavy, spacing the floor. That's the type of offense that Ja wants, and that's what the interim head coach wanted. And the previous style was not really, Ja-centric. So it makes a lot of sense here. Forward Gigi Jackson also expressed, hearing those news where he thought it was an NBA Centel type of situation going on. I even listened to Desmond Bain, who was really fond of Jenkins. It seems like they, talked for a little while after the firing, and so it hit him a lot harder. When Ja Morant was asked about it, when I watched the interview, he was a little bit more dismissive, and he was a little bit more focused on himself than the coach being fired, which I found, a little suspicious, considering the GM, Zach Kleiman, mentioned that he did not consult any of the players. He definitely consulted Ja Morant on this, and it seemed like they clearly chose a direction that they want to go with Tuomas Iisalo. Now they have a little bit more team cohesion. Hopefully they can pick up the performance after the Lakers loss. Tonight they're playing the Celtics. They have one of the toughest remaining schedules with 9 games left, it looks like. I mean, this is going to be a tough stretch going into the playoffs. Right now, their standings, I can look it up. I know they were in 5th seed, but they've got, a long ways to go. So let's look at the Western Conference right now. I mean, 44-30. The Golden State Warriors, it seems like they're only 1 game back. They could easily slide down. Both the Warriors and Timberwolves are right behind them. They could easily slide down to the 7 seed outside of, being safe from the play-in. And that'd be really destructive to their season. And with the way that the rest of the 9 games that they have, I wouldn't be surprised if that was to happen. I mean, it could easily happen. They had a really bad string of games. I mean, post All-Star, they were nearly net 500 without Ja Morant. And before All-Star, I mean, they were fine. But, man, this is – I mean, the GM's taking full responsibility. He's optimistic. The players are just going to have to pick up the play here in this case. That's all they can really do. I mean, Taylor Jenkins, departing, he's had a 250 win record versus 214 losses, 3 playoff appearances since his hiring in June 2019. I mean, he has a great track record, so there shouldn't be a surprise here that he'll get another gig. Other teams will be attracted to his experience coaching and leadership and player development. I feel like he'd be a great fit for any of the bottom teams that need to get out of the playoffs. I'd love to see first team that comes to mind is maybe a Bulls team that's, on the right track. I could see them going with him considering Scott Brooks has been there for forever. I mean, there's a lot of teams out there that we could probably point to. I can look, Brooklyn Nets need some help. I can see the 76ers firing their coach with the crazy season they've had. Charlotte Hornets always need a coach. The Wizards, probably not so much. They don't have the talent to really rise into the playoffs anytime soon. The Spurs need a coach. I think that would be like number 1 destination with Pop's situation. Obviously, he hasn't said that he's retiring or anything like that, but I could definitely see a scenario where the Spurs could get a new coach. Portland's kind of already got a pretty good coaching situation. The Suns are going to be looking for a coach. I think he'd be a hot destination there with the Suns and the Spurs. Pelicans, not so much. Jazz, not so much. So those are just a couple, teams out there that I think could use a guy like Jenkins. I'd love to hear what your guys' thoughts are. Do you guys think this firing was fair if you're a Grizzlies fan? I want to, thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you guys subscribe. I'm going to have a bunch of episodes like this, breaking down all things NBA. Appreciate you guys and peace out.